Hello Blizzard fans, this is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another daily Blizzard upload. This is a game between Breosith and TheAffluent on Terraform, the latter edition. In the bottom right of Terraform, the latter edition, we have the red Terran player, it is Breosith. And in the top left of Terraform, the latter edition, we have the blue Protoss player, it is TheAffluent. Alright, so a PvT on Terraform, the latter edition. This was marketed to me as a good PvT by my screener Squeaks, so I appreciate him going through all the submissions I have received at falconpaladin@gmail.com. At this point, I'm going to have to kind of restrict what I'm asking for to, masters or higher. If you have a really interesting lower level game where some crazy strategies used I haven't cast before, feel free to submit that still. But I'm going to try to keep it to the higher level games at this point. I'm just getting a lot of replays. I've been searching all around Team Liquid and Reddit, and where else have I gone? To friends on Skype. Desperately searching for a Terran player, definitely to highlight, but also just find those higher level replays, and it's really kind of paid off. Oh yeah, so that's the thing. I have contacted Polt about becoming kind of my featured Terran player on the channel, and so I'm not sure if he's going to respond or not, but if you go to his YouTube channel, I'll go ahead and put a link here in the comments, and just kind of maybe let him know that you would like to see his replays be cast on my channel, and you'd love to see them, and everybody would like to see them. It might help to change his mind if he's not planning on doing so. I know that really worked for Crank, so kind of putting you guys to work on that one. Probe is scouting on in, happens to see exactly what's going on, which is kind of a double barracks opening. Not kind of, this is a double barracks opening from Breosith. Interesting enough, gets a couple shots off, is forced to go on home. Didn't really want to try to kill anything, just wanted that scout. So recognizing a double barracks opener is a pretty aggressive opening from Terran, although it might just be in response to the fact that we pretty much are going to see Adepts out of Affluent. And maybe a double barracks opener with, yeah, Tech Lab there with a quick Reaper, and then is this another Tech Lab? Nope, a Reactor. I was going to say, I have seen openers with Marauders do really, really well in countering Adept play from Protoss. So that might be an excellent choice here, but instead it looks like we're going to go ahead and go for Marauder and Marine as well. The Marines are not entirely useless. It's just they get two-shot against Adepts, and just it's not a good look for them. It's not a good good matchup as far as Starcraft 2 is concerned. So here comes the Reaper hopping on in, going to get a quick scout off. Mothership Core is on the way, not quite here yet. Going to try to kill some workers. There's a Stalker on the way. It is being chrono boosted. Some pretty good micro here from Breosith. Might be able to kill one or two probes. Possibly he's going after the weakened one, but there comes the Mothership Core. KD8 charge being thrown down, blasts a lot of people away. Oh, and gets killed because Motherships come out with enough energy to photon overcharge two separate pylons right away. So that timing window for Reapers is just so short. I don't play Terran, but I kind of feel sorry for him at this point. Reapers, just their window to be able to do anything is approximately 15 seconds at this point. I really feel like it is, because when that Mothership Core pops out, it used to be you could kind of get around the Mothership Core and run away from it and all that stuff, but having the ability to photon overcharge immediately as soon as she pops, and the range on this thing is just far enough that the Reaper can't do anything. It also hits like a truck, and that's just it. So you can scout with the Reaper, which is exactly what happened there, but beyond that, I really don't think the Reaper has much utility in TVP. And actually, it's not an Adept opening, it's a Stalker opening, which these Marines will do a lot better against. Marines against Stalker is usually a pretty fair fight. So here comes the Stalker poking right on in, takes a couple shots from the Marauders. Good stutter step forward. Oh, and they do get it thanks to the concussive shell upgrade that is here for Marauders. So well played there by Breosith. Excellent, excellent micro. He's going to push on out now with his small group of a Marauder and 6 Marines heading out across. This Stalker wanted to join in on the fun, but saw the friend die and said, I'm going to head on home. Don't worry about me. Robo Facility on the way for the Affluent. Stim being researched, +1 weapons on the way for Breosith as well. I did listen to a bit of a podcast from Clan Eat Casting today. I'm not sure if you've heard of them before, but they had a discussion on balance and Legacy of the Void, and one of the Terran players said it's pretty much impossible for Terran to just go straight bio anymore. I don't know if that's particularly the case, as the Marines and Marauders get in here and do pretty darn well against this. I guess he was complaining that Disruptors really shut it down fairly well. Colossus aren't really the answer there, but I don't know. I didn't really hear the full extent of the argument. I'm not sure he was too articulate in explaining exactly why he felt that way, but Let's see what's going to happen here from Breosith as he tries to make this work. The other thing I've heard on ladder is that Protoss players feel like they only see other Zerg players, and Zerg players feel like they only see Protoss. And that Terran players are not too happy with Legacy of the Void. It might explain why I'm not able to find too many high-level Terran replays in LOTV at this point. So, kind of interesting that way. I feel like the Liberator's a good unit. I feel like the Cyclone's a pretty good unit. It was nerfed, somebody pointed out in a recent patch, so it doesn't hit quite as hard as it used to, and that maybe makes it a little bit less useful. But man, the ability to attack while moving and that automatic kite with the range they have, even if they don't hit really hard anymore, I still have a hard time believing the Cyclone utility is that poor. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in this replay. If Breosith is going to go for some of those Cyclones or not. It looks like at this point it's pretty much just going to be straight up Medivacs, Marines, and Marauders. Meanwhile, there is a Warp Prism over here. And there are the first Adepts in the game for the Affluent, warping right on in. Going to drop those guys. I think maybe warp a couple more. At this point, third base looks like it's being planted. Nope, just kidding. That is actually a factory. And here come the Adepts going after workers. One worker ends up dead. Two workers end up dead. The huge army shows up trying to kill that Warp Prism, trying to make it happen, sacrificing the Adepts. Oh, well played there with that Warp Prism, dropping the Adept to draw some fire and then picking it up from that range like they can do now. Excellent, excellent indeed. Units lost tab, 3 probes and 2 SCVs, a Reaper, a Stalker, and an Adept. Pretty even, I have to imagine. Resources lost, about 375 minerals for the Affluent, 150 for Breosith, and about 75 and 50 gas for each of those guys. Moving out, Marines and Marauders, they do have combat shield, they do have concussive shell, they do have +1 infantry attack here. We do have a lot of Stalkers, some Sentries, and some Marauders here. I feel like this might be a pretty close battle, and there it is. Good concave here from Breosith going after the Sentries. 2 of the Sentries are going to die immediately, the other one getting focused down as well. Stalkers dying left and right. Immortals trying to kill what they can, but this army is just too strong for Breosith. The Marines are left. Marines do so well against Immortals. Stalkers warp in to clean up the rest of these guys and force a retreat. They do force a retreat. A couple more Medivacs were here. A Viking was on the way, but in the end, the warping and Stalkers did enough to keep Breosith from feeling too confident and too comfortable about moving out. A third command center is on the way for Breosith. A third Nexus on the way for the Affluent as well. So in Legacy of the Void, it is definitely important to know that you need to expand. You mine out bases a lot more quickly than you used to. There are few minerals in each patch than there were in Heart of the Swarm. You can't really sit on 2 bases and live forever anymore. You need to get that 3rd base up. You need to get that 4th base, because expanding is what's going to keep you alive throughout most of the game. The factory here just scouting the middle of the map, trying to see if any attacks come across the middle here. Again, this is Terraform. You can come down this way to attack. You can come down this way to attack. I mean, you can come all the way down this way to attack if you want to, coming through those weeds. You can also go along the top lanes and kind of the top middle lanes. It's really hard to scout out attack paths on this map. There are just so many different ways to get to your base. Breosith checking to make sure there's not a pylon up here or a couple Dark Templar or anything like that that would really ruin his day, and dropping down that orbital command a little bit after this Nexus has been up and running. So I would say at this point the Affluent is definitely up at 62 to 55 total harvesters, 101 to 101 total supply. On that way, Breosith is continuing to make Vikings, Medivacs, Marines, getting that +2. There it is, actually +2 armor and infantry on the way, and actually a Ghost Academy. So Ghosts can be super useful against Protoss if you're a Terran player. The EMP ability knocks shields off everything, and everything Protoss has shields, so it makes a lot of sense to get that Ghost unit. Coming on up again with a small attack with some Vikings. I'm not sure if we're worried about Oracles or what here, but the Viking count seems a little weird. Perhaps worried about Colossus at this stage. Hasn't really scouted, so yeah, there's Storm being researched though, and a stim forward going to try to get these Stalkers. Anybody that gets hit is going to get killed because they are too slow with that concussive shell. A couple get picked off there. Heading back on up is Breosith, loading up into the Medivacs and flying away. Just letting this factory burn down, because who needs that anymore. Viking count getting a little high right now, 3 total Vikings. No more in production though, so we have the shield upgrade for the Adepts, making them just a little bit more tanky than they were before. Going to drop right on into the main here, but guess what? There's a High Templar with feedback available. Is it going to react in time? And yes, it does get one of the Medivacs, but dropping everywhere here. Marines, Zealots warping in with charge are enough to take out a lot of these Marines. Double photon overcharge killing everything it can. Marines falling. Marauders are falling. This drop is being handled about as well as you possibly can, I think, for the Affluent. Does force the retreat from Breosith. Again, more units were here. They're preparing to take part in the battle, but instead it didn't go so well for that drop. And Breosith decides to cut his losses and run. Trying to actually blinking through the mineral line there to pick off a Viking. Excellent play there by the Affluent. The rest of the units tried to follow, but they can't blink, so they couldn't follow their Stalker brethren. 123 to 107 supply. The Affluent is definitely ahead in the count on that way. The Affluent has lost 3,700 minerals and 1,300 gas. Breosith has only lost 3,400 minerals and 400 gas. Also 12 workers and 2 SCVs, but still I feel like the Protoss is ahead. He's been playing this pretty well. Hasn't been using disruptors really. Hasn't been using adepts that much either. I don't see any on the field currently. Let's look at that units tab. No, definitely not. So kind of going old school, I was going to say Brood War, but old school Heart of the Swarm here. It looks like just coming in with these charge lots with +2 attack upgrades. Going to go right after this. I think might be able to handle it with the Zealots in front and a couple good storms. Oh, baiting the army in, but Breosith is a little bit too smart for that. He scans, he sees the Templar. He knows that Storm are in his future, so he doesn't really want to get in there. Trying to take down that Observer, can't quite do it. Couple Zealots get in there. Really nothing happens for their trouble. They just get evaporated. A 4th base coming up for the Affluent. Doing a good job attacking and expanding. You would make several professional players proud, as that is their motto. +3/+3 infantry and attack and armor. On the way for Breosmith, getting cloak as well. For Ghosts, personnel cloaking, as well as a Liberator and Defender mode being researched at the same time. So, Breosith trying to make this happen with those Legacy of the Void units. 4th base coming up for Breosith at the gold. I like this play. Doing the crazy thing where workers come to the backside of these mineral lines. If you rally them here, you have to tell them to go around to the front. Meanwhile, double storm attack on this base. The Warp Prism does get destroyed, though. Total number of SCVs that have died is now 7. I don't think that was cost effective at all. 4,200 minerals and 1,600 gas lost for the Affluent at this point. Whoops, let's bring that back and get rid of that. Some of my hotkeys get confused. Anyway, again, just really sticking with these Heart of the Swarm units here. Again, I don't see anything in this train that tells me we're playing Legacy of the Void, but maybe that's good for Breosith here. I don't know. This poor Immortal gets left out in the open and destroyed immediately. Liberators are here. Defender mode is not quite finished yet. I think Breosith wants to delay this attack until he has that ready. It is so close, but finally being forced to engage just a little bit. And he does. He stands and fights, trying to burn through these Zealots. Feedback going down. Couple Archons being morphed in as well. Defender mode circles finally show up. A good storm on top of all these units. Ghost Snipe being used at the same time. Ooh, sniping down a Liberator. Excellent micro there by the Affluent. And another attack up here with Zealots warping on into the 3rd, killing a ton of SCVs, forcing the others to retreat for their own safety. Marauder slow again being very useful in picking off these Stalkers that don't have Blink available. Chasing up the SCVs to this base where there's a planetary to protect them. So that's actually very, very nice for them indeed. Zealots getting right on top of this Bile group, weakening them greatly. Taking out a free Raven there and maybe getting a Liberator, but no, the Affluent wants to back on out. Defender mode being used in an offensive fashion. Breosmith trying to make something happen here because he definitely lost his 3rd base entirely. Stimming right on in, going after pylons because pylons are the scary thing right now. Going after gateways, trying to kill additional probes, reinforcing units coming in. This is a lot of Archons, though, just standing in and fighting against Marines and Marauders and Medivacs. Excellent. That is what Archons want to do. They do not want to get stimmed and kited away. Zealots running in here again, trying to take out this planetary, all by their lonesome. Not going to happen, as all 3 of those Zealots end up dead. And the planetary remains. The gold base still exists. These Archons do have +3 attack, which makes them so scary against biological units, which is what Marines are. Still continuing to make Marines, though, is Breosith, resaturating his 3rd base. Almost lost it, being forced to use mules to repair. That is just a tough place to be. Absolutely. Continuing to produce Marines and Marauders and missile turrets. Are Liberators still on the field is the question. Unit tab shows no. Absolutely not. There are 2 Marauders and 28 Marines versus 5 Archons, 7 Stalkers, and 4 Templar. The Affluent might be able to push in and win this thing, but I think he's worried about establishing his 4th, getting up that army, getting those upgrades. No upgrades in production right now, though. 2 Liberators are on the way for Breosith. I was starting to worry that maybe we wouldn't see any Legacy of the Void units here, but we have seen Adepts, we have seen Liberators, and that makes me pretty happy. So here we come again. I think we're pushing on the gold, trying to make something happen. Is the Affluent, and getting a pretty good attack angle with these Archons right on top of them, but a stem backward with +3/+3 Marines and Marauders is no joke. You really need to get in there and attack them. If you let them stem back and just kite you forever, they will destroy you. So Supply Depot in the middle of nowhere does get taken out by some Zealots, but does warn Breosith that a couple Zealots are coming. So I think it fulfilled its purpose there. Coming on down, might try to get another attack at this orbital command. It is 58 to 48 total Harvesters. A 5th base is now up and running for the Affluent as well. So just doing a great job expanding, keeping the army fairly big. Doesn't have to max out, but just expanding as much as humanly possible, keeping these engagements consistent, chasing down that SCV. Another Supply Depot is going to fall. Moving up with an Archon, one dies immediately. Is that enough to force the Affluent to run a big storm? Chases the bio units away again. Archons get right on top here. Defender mode being thrown down. Everybody gets out of that circle of doom. Archon tries to morph in, does, but gets killed immediately. Affluent says, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else where there are not Liberators. Comes right on in, going to snipe down. I think all 3 of these Marauders are going to die. Going to be very, very close though, but no, the 3rd Marauder does live, joins up with his buddies, and is very happy. First Colossus on the way for the Affluent, thinking, how do I deal with this? Maybe it's Colossus? So Colossus attack damage has been nerfed in Legacy of the Void. The range is still the same. I believe I said something to the opposite effect in a previous cast. I apologize for that misinformation, but definitely that is the case, as a commenter corrected me. Moving out again, looking pretty aggressive. I was going to say there are some Zealots up here, but they got cleaned up. Is Breosith trying to keep his units on the high ground here, where they can't be sniped down by Stalkers. Pushing out across the middle of the map is the Affluent, going for this gold base again. Breosith is out of position, but guess what? This entire base is out of position. There is nothing here yet. All of these pylons, this entire Nexus is going to die. Defender mode being thrown down just in case somebody cries to defend from there, losing the gold base in exchange for losing this 5th base. Probably a fair trade if I'm Breosith or the Affluent. Nobody really going to try to save this at all. These probes tried to run away, but they did get caught by the Ghosts and the Marines. The poor things. Their bodies flying into the water here. Single Marine getting a bunch of kills here, up to 2 so far. And then I think Breosith's just going to head back home. Indeed he is, and the same thing for the Affluent. So both players are whittling down the worker count. It's 40 to 44 total Harvesters. Breosith being in the lead right now. Zealots coming up, getting lucky, catching this command center before it can be changed into a planetary, forcing a liftoff. Did that SCV die? It certainly did. Another SCV has died. Heading on down south are these Zealots. They might find an open 3rd base here, and they do. Going right after these SCVs. Breosith is out of position, coming on back though. And these 3 Zealots do get cleaned up by the bio, but not after stopping the mining for a long time. Breosith is hugely oversaturated on this 3rd base. Mined out of his 2nd, mined out of his 1st. In a lot of trouble here. The Affluent pushing in perhaps for the death blow. Dark Shrine on the way as well for the Affluent. Not sure what he plans on doing with that, other than when behind Dark Shrine, I don't know. Breosith, not Breosith, does manage to have another base here. This one gets sniped again by the Zealots. Whew, excuse me, a bit of a coughing fit there again. I'm going to try to get through this though. Throwing up another Nexus here at the gold base is the Affluent. He really loves expanding while attacking. Probably could afford to throw down another Nexus here if he had enough money. But he's spending it a little bit too well. Is definitely up on that worker count. Resources lost tab shows the Protoss has lost 18,000 minerals as another medevac does get sniped down there, and 5,700 gas. Both players have lost about 44-45 workers, so very even. On that count, Terran player, 3,000 gas, 14,000 minerals, whatever, tomato. That's what I personally feel about that. 3 Colossus, a couple Archons, Stalker, Zealot, and Templar here. A scan reveals the location. We do have Vikings, a big storm though, right on top of all the Marines and the Marauders, on top of the Vikings as well. Colossus cleaning up on the ground as long as they can. The Vikings and the Liberators taking them down. All the Archons are gone. Colossus have fallen as well. Stalkers trying to clean up the rest of the army. Zealots on the ground doing pretty well at the same time. But now the Stalkers are just trying to get rid of those Liberators because they know they're going to die. They're going to take out what is most harmful to them, and the entire Protoss army does end up dead. Mules are called down to celebrate. In the production tab, nothing right now for the Affluent, getting another Colossus. I mean, a small group of Templar are here. Resources lost tab show 22,000 minerals have been lost for the Affluent. Breosith, only about 17 or 18,000 total, and double the gas has been lost for the Affluent. This is pretty standard in PvT. I mean, Protoss has a lot of gas-heavy units. Meanwhile, a lot of things like Marines are dying for our Terran player. A small strike force here is going to come up and try to kill this planetary. This is a lot of Zealots with +3 attack. A couple Stalkers as well. If they try to repair, the Templar actually might be able to take that out. All these workers are in a lot of trouble here. Meanwhile, big attack on this base from behind the mineral line that is so vulnerable. All the SCVs are forced to retreat out of there. This is the only mining base left alive for Breosith right now. This Nexus is definitely going to fall. Colossus, if it's not careful, will get seen here by Breosith and possibly taken out at the same time. Does manage to retreat. This base is completely under fire. This base is heavily oversaturated. This as well is oversaturated. A small drop here coming on in, and there are a couple Templar, but I don't know what you do with Templar against these Marauders. You warp in Zealots. That's what you do. Throwing feedback down on that medevac. It is down to 15 health. The Zealots right on top of the Marauders do a great job of it. This small group here, again, trying to avoid defender mode circles. Storm being thrown down. Stalkers taking out Liberators. Feedback on top of everything here that can be feedback. Storm hitting the Zealots more often than not. Stalkers chasing away Vikings and medevacs. Charged Zealots chasing away this entire Bio army. All the way back here to the natural. Slowly whittling this down all the way into the main base. SCVs as well left behind, getting chopped up by those side blades. A bunch of Marines pop out at about the right time. They might be able to kill. Yes, there is enough here to get rid of that last Zealot. This Zealot with 3 kills might get 4. It does not. Gets picked up instead. Building a supply depot here to cancel the potential building of a Nexus. Supply depot, or a command center down here. Orbital command mining here from the Mules. Archon gets exploded by these bio units. Another Stalker is going to fall. A lot of Stalkers lost in this game so far. Let's take a look. 32 Stalkers have died. 98 Zealots. 5 Immortals. 3 Colossus. Crazy times. 154 Marines have died here. It's just been a bloodbath on both sides of the ball. Okay, it's not actually a ball in StarCraft, but excellent SCV pull. Good reaction time except for these two that do end up dead, but I think a lot more SCVs would have died there. Zealots cleaning out this supply depot. The army pushing up here to the gold base. They're going to be able to get it this time. A lot of these probes are forced to retreat. The reaction time was fairly good, but stimming is good too. And Breosith takes out a lot of workers. Units lost 62 to 65 SCVs. Probes are in the lead there. Colossus trying to get some swipes off on these Marines and Marauders. Don't really want to engage wholly though. Zealots getting right in the middle here. Stalkers getting warped in at the same time. Heavily overstimmed Marines are trying to run away. A Dark Templars here does get scanned. It will get taken out fairly quickly. These guys trying to run home. Again, they're overstimmed, but I don't think that really matters. 97 to 66 total supply in favor of the Affluent. This base is mining with 22 workers. This base mining with about 2. Not fantastic. Did we actually save the gold base? We did, but we're doing the glitch thing again. No, the probes were told to mine at this mineral patch, and instead of going to the front side, they went to the back side, and now they're being forced to long distance mine. I don't know if the Affluent recognizes that or not. A small group of Marines. Again, +3/+3 Marines are pretty scary stuff. Archons are good too, though, with +3/+3 +2 of their own. +2 shield upgrades here. Seen a lot of that recently from Protoss, getting that shield upgrade. But zooming out, pushing on in, trying to take out production buildings, trying to find mining bases. I think that's actually the bigger intent here for the Affluent. And yes, does find this command center, forces it to lift off. Vikings come in to try to take out individual Colossus. I don't think there's anything here to really deal with that except a couple Stalkers and an Archon. Heading on down south again. Do they know about this base? No. The Affluent does not know about this base, but checks it anyway and does find the command center. Missile turret gets destroyed immediately. All these SCVs running for their lives, hiding in the corner, hoping like crazy. The Protoss player does not find them. Here we go. This is a big confrontation. Breosith gonna gets a poke out. The Zealots are chasing after. One Marine dies. Now we have the stim backwards again with the kite. absorbing a lot of the damage. So are these +3 Zealots. A big storm hits a couple things there. Feedback going down on all those Medivacs. The Medivacs are not going to be much use at all. They are now completely gone. Man, the Templar were good here, and that's it. Breosith calls the GG. The Affluent is victorious, and Breosith has left the game. So yeah, pretty intense back and forth action there on Terraform. I appreciate the submission. The Affluent, I really do appreciate it. Look to see more from you in the future. So yeah, again, the Affluent not making use of many of the Legacy of the Void units, just trying to make good use of Templar with the Storm. Consistent feedback, I think, was the key there, getting rid of Medivacs and things like that. Kind of switching up the composition, going from Immortals into Colossus into Archons, kind of keeping the Terran player on his toes. The Terran player didn't use any Widow Mines, which I think would have been useful here. Again, also, the Liberator use was fairly good. Not the best I've ever seen. The Affluent was really able to dodge the circles of death pretty easily. From what I saw, so that might be a key to dealing with those Liberators, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so this has been Falcon Paladin with yet another Daily Blizzard upload. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook, all at /Falcon Paladin. And until next time, as always, you take care of yourself.